Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wilde, and welcome to the Spaces Between. And sorry if my voice is a little wonky still. This one's just hanging around a little bit. Asthma doesn't help, by the way. About the time I think I'm done, I'm not done. So, yeah. And it's just a cold. And honestly, after telling you guys, there is still a such thing as a cold. Not everything is something else. Because I know that there are so many other things out there that we get told are other stuffs. And yes, I'm going to leave the word stuffs, and it's not. It is just a cold. Excuse me. So, yes, it's a cold. And sometimes that happens. Did you know that? We get colds. And even though there's stuff floating around in the world and being invented and created and all of those things, colds still exist. Did you know that? Yeah. So, yeah, they're still there. Um, the old stuff becomes new again. It's a cycle, by the way. It's part of the reason why I'm so drawn to the pagan path and why it is so comfortable for me, is why it's so real to me. Mm-hmm. And so today is just kind of a bit of a ramble. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be on, but I do wanted to check in. I've just got a lot on my plate. We're winding up the year, the calendar year. Mini me, it's our last week of school. For those of you who pay attention to the weather, excuse me, we had a bit of a weather event here. I do want to talk about that a little bit also. And then Yule this weekend, and then Christmas next week, and got family stuff going on, and I've got some crafts I'm doing at home, and just things and things and things. And I make cookies, and I made candies for Christmas, and I need to do that too. And so, or for Thanksgiving, but I need to do that for this holiday too. So yeah. Lots of stuff. And I don't know how much voice I'm going to have, so I am limited. Anyways, so we're going to dive right in. So, as part of my tradition, the Wild Way, life is a cycle. Life is a cycle. What has been will become again. It is just an enduring, revolving door of events. So the weather that we're experiencing today will come again. And it is just an ever-flowing, ongoing event. It is just, it's a cycle. And so even though we have some crazy weather right now, and we absolutely do, it's something that will happen again down the road, and it's something that we've had in the past. Now, that doesn't mean that we should always expect crazy weather. It just means it's something that that's happening right now. And it's frustrating, right? Because it is crazy weather. I mean, I know people on the East Coast, like South Carolina, Tennessee, North Carolina, that are experiencing like cold weather, snow. It's cold, right? And then here in the Pacific Northwest, we're experiencing abnormally warm weather. And normally, the people are talking about their ski trips and such. And yeah, we're not doing that right now. And instead, we're talking about mud and flooding. And yeah, it's just been a little bit insane. And I mean, really insane. If you're hearing alerts, I'm sorry. They keep popping up. So, yeah, we had, in the course of a very short period of time, we had like 6 inches of rain, I think is what it was, all total. And that's a lot of rain in a short period of time for us here in the Pacific Northwest. You know, other areas in the U.S., when they experience rainfall, they'll measure it in inches, and it's like, oh, hey, we had an inch of rain today. I mean, that's pretty typical. And that is typical because for their weather patterns and for their ground saturation and their soil content, that is normal because the soil can soak it up and it makes sense. They have a loamier soil, that kind of thing. Here, where we live in the Pacific Northwest, it's more clay type, and there's a lot more ash because of the volcanoes here on the Pacific side, and so it has a tendency to. Hi, Gemini. Thank you. Happy holidays to you as well. And so a lot of rain has a tendency to shed off and not soak in, and wash away the ground underneath. And so when we get 6 inches of rain in a short period of time, like 24 hours, that's a lot of rain. Now, on average, if you take an average weather pattern, and this is a crazy thing, it's 10 inches of snow. 10 inches of snow. I don't have a ruler handy. Piece of paper, 8.5 by 11 page, right? 8.5 by 11, right? So, there we go. Trying to line it up in the cat. So, 11 inches is about how tall this page is. An inch of rain is about that much snow. It's 10 inches of snow on average. 10 inches. Isn't that crazy? On average. So, if we had 6 inches of snow, or excuse me, 6 inches of rain in a day, that means on average that should have been about 60 inches of snow in a day. Oh, that's a flippin' lot of snow. That's 5 feet of snow. Yes, that would have been like, oh, school's canceled. But we would have been like, oh, hey, look, it finally snowed. And we would have been like, hey, it really snowed. And we would have been talking about it, but it would have been like, hey, look at all the snow. And we would have responded totally differently because, hey, check out the snow, right? Instead, we had all this rain, and an area to the east of the community where I live had a lot of roads wash out. People were stranded. They had to rescue them, have a canoe and boat and such. And that's insane because that's not something we normally experience this time of year. Spring, maybe, but not early winter, which is first day of winter is Sunday. I mean, that's just a couple days. And then over on the East Coast, or excuse me, the West Coast, the Tacoma, Seattle, the Olympic Peninsula. For those of you who are the Twilight fans, Twihards, that's the area, the setting for those books. That's the area that received a lot of flooding, and that's insane because they don't normally experience a lot of this, and they were using like their 100-year flood plans, and that's something they don't normally have to deal with. So for that to be a thing, that's a big deal, especially this time of year. And we haven't even had snow. Not real snow. And all the snow that we did have, because it rained so much, it melted. Yeah, Gemini. It was just crazy weather. And so all the snow that we had melted off the mountains, and so we had all the snow melt, and so our rivers are bank full right now, and they've opened the dams up a little more because our reservoirs and everything, because we have a lot of lakes up here, natural lakes and such, where they try to control the watershed a little bit before it goes downstream because there's potential for flooding downstream where there's a lot of communities right on the rivers, right? I try to control it up here so there's not flooding down below. And we keep that water up here because, in the spring, the reservoirs fill up, right? Well, they've had to adjust some of that now already, and we haven't even had the real snow, the real winter. And then as soon as that rain ended or paused for a little bit, then we had these massive windstorms. Right? Some of the wind gusts are like 75 to 80 miles an hour. And I mean, through the Columbia River Gorge, the wind through there is just insane. Anyways, I mean that wind just blows. It's just there's why that's why there's a lot of wind farms through there already. But just cars were just being blown off the road. Semis were just laying down and taking naps. I mean, it was just crazy, and just wild weather for us. Now then, of course, because everything moves along the weather patterns shift as the currents shift, the jet stream moves through around, right? As those patterns shift, all that weather has to go somewhere. Now it's in the across the northern plains and in the plain states, and it'll cross. And as those patterns change, it's a mess now in the Midwest and in the plain states, and um, and we're set up for some wild winds again tonight. But we've also had snow, so I had to post today. I posted. It's like old man winter is like a bridezilla who can't say yes to the dress, and that's really truly how it feels. Like, how many seasons can we have in the course of like a week? We've had snow, we've had hail, we've had thunderstorms, we've had flooding, we've had rain, we've had beautiful sunshine. Kids are wearing shorts and t-shirts to school because our weather here is in the 50s. I mean, that's spring. So yeah. Um, well, even summer, because we have cool summers here too sometimes. So yeah, it's crazy weather. And so for any of you out there listening, if our weather patterns are being affected like this, that tells me that we're not the only ones. So if I'm just focused on my own little microcosm of the world, and I'm seeing all the chaos that's happening in my world here, because yes, there's a little bit, and then I pan out my view just a little bit, and I look at the weather around the world, and it's like, wow, there's some other chaos happening, because there is. And I notice, well, like there was a volcano that popped off over in Africa that everybody thought was kind of dormant because it's been asleep for couple 10,000 years, 16,000 years, Excuse me, maybe it was 14. I'd have to double check. But anyways, it's been asleep for a while, right? Or, um, there's flooding in places that there hasn't been flooding, or, um, tsunamis and multiple earthquakes. And now they're saying there's a potential for a sub ocean or an ocean floor volcano going off the coast of Oregon, and like what's going to happen there. And then, there's all these things happening in our world. And of course, there are some things that are happening that are man made and impacting our weather systems. And I agree, it's really, really bad, right? And we shouldn't do those things because mankind has a tendency to just do things and not stop and think about the consequences of what we're doing as a group. Individually, we're very strong. We have the ability to make these strong decisions that are for the betterment of mankind. We do these really good things, right? But when we stop and we do things as a group, it's like we get stupid. And I've seen it in other situations, not just, sadly, not just as like um, in a meeting or anything like that, but like across the board in a classroom setting, in meetings, in stadiums, in clubs, in rooms, or anything. It's like people or humankind has a tendency to go to the lowest common denominator. So if you have a room full of people where there's smart people, like highly intelligent people, and average intelligent people, and you have someone who with average intelligence who's a little bit more dominant than everybody else, everybody's going to follow that more dominant person, regardless of, no matter, even the smart people have the better ideas and are more capable and stuff. They're all going to just still, everybody's going to follow the 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 poorer ideas. They're going to go ahead and do those things, which to me is ridiculous, because why Why do that to yourselves, right? But that is human nature. We have a tendency to just kind of gravitate to the lowest common denominator. Uh, Kids in daycares and stuff, if there's kids that are not at the same maturity levels, so you've got 3 year olds and 4 year olds, and the 4 year olds are more advanced because, hey, they're 4 years old and they're more capable of doing things, but they spend the day with a bunch of, say, 3 year olds who aren't as capable. The 4 year olds will start acting more like the 3 year olds rather than the 3 year olds acting like the 4 year olds. I don't know why. I'm sure there's a psychologist out there that could tell me why. Anyways, so as a group, mankind, has a tendency to just get stupider. So we do have a tendency to do stupid things to our planet. And I get it. And it's ridiculous. So I'm going somewhere here. We need to stop doing that. We need to stop and think, hey, what are we doing to our planet and why are we doing it? So when it comes to pollution and throwing our garbage away, there are other things we can do. There are garbage burners, and that if you do reburners and stuff, you can do a fantastic job of making power plants that can burn your trash and turn it into fuels. And it's the technology is there. We just need to use it and do a better job of it. And there'd be less trash floating around, recycling the plastics better, glass, recycling the glass better. There's just so much out there that we could do better, right? And if we did that, there would be less garbage, there'd be less negative impact to our environment. That being said, everybody gets really upset about the exhaust and the fumes and the impact that we have on our atmosphere, right? And the greenhouse gases and such, and the cow farts and all that. I'm not going to count cow farts. It's just not what I'm going to do. I think it's ridiculous because if one volcano goes off, that is more carbon monoxide into our environment than our entire population can produce. And that ash is more harmful to our atmosphere than anything that we could do. And so it's not like we can go put a cork in all of those volcanoes. We don't want to. We really don't, because if we were to put a cork in all of the outpourings that happen at, say, Yellowstone, all those beautiful geysers, if we were to put a cork in all of those, then yes, Yellowstone would pop off and it would be bad. We don't want that. Our Earth is still growing and evolving and developing, and we need to let her do that. Because if we stop that, that's when the catastrophic things happen. So we need to learn how to work with our Earth so that we can better use the resources that we have. And, there are other ways to develop the resources that we have, guys. Instead of, I know a lot of like mining is there to do or to look for profit, right? Well, we need to find a different way to measure profit. I understand that money is a big thing and cash value. Cash money is a big deal. I get it. It's what makes the world work right now. But maybe it's time to stop and evaluate what it is that really has the most value. What is truly richness? Well, hello so much, Jake. And if we learn to define wealth differently or redefine wealth, maybe that is the better way to do it. Yes, happy holidays so much, Jake, Mr. Jake. Maybe it's time to do that. I mean, we have a wealth of resources within our own planet. We have a wealth of resources with our exoplanets. There's meteors and satellites. Shoot, garbage collectors up in our own atmosphere, or You know, there's a whole bunch of stuff just right outside of our it's suborbital stuff that needs to be cleaned up because it is hazardous out there. I bet you there's some really good stuff out there to be mined. Get a vacuum cleaner out there, guys. And I bet you there's some money to be had there. We need to find a way to better integrate some of those tools that we already have to find the resources to mine those things, to manage those things. Maybe it's time to find other ways to define wealth so that we are propelled more to go off planet to find some resources. I don't know. And as a pagan, you'd think that, hey, I don't necessarily believe in going off planet, but no, I do. I think we should go do the things. I think we should explore. We should go do the things. By golly, I'm all about it. I would love to go off planet. I would love to sail around the moon. I think it'd be fantastic. When the boys are growing up and they're like, "Hey, what should we be when we grow up?" It's like, I don't know. Be whatever you want to be. They're like, "Well, what should we do?" It's like, build a better rocket, invent a better engine, do the thing. You're smart enough. You can do whatever you want to do. And the same with the kids nowadays when I'm teaching in the schools. They're like, well, we don't know what we want to be when we grow up. It's like, well, be whatever you want to be. If you want to go to college, go to college. If you don't want to go to college, then don't. Find what fuels your passions and you're interested in, and that's what you do. You know, and sometimes that's what you need to encourage kids to do: find their passion and encourage them to do it. And that's hard sometimes because they don't know. But sometimes that's exactly what they need to hear. But from there, though, it's just encouraging them to find out that passion, or if they already have it, to invest themselves into it. So I don't know. I'm just rambling today. So yeah, with the weather here, I don't know. I'm feeling unsettled. I can feel the transition happening, and maybe that's why I'm rambling a bit. But I did want to check in, and I can feel where the winds of change are happening, and I can feel it in my bones. I mean, for those of us here in the U.S., Trump signed a thing today declassifying marijuana from a class 1 substance to a class 3 substance. So that's changing things. We'll see how that shakes out. I'm sure that's going to be a new adventure for those of the world that are, into it. And I have no problems. Just tax it like everything else. Why not? Make it fair for everybody. Tax the bejeebers out of it. So, I mean, why not? But yes, we're in a transition time. I don't know. I just feel it in my bones, and I just cleanse yourself, ground yourself, do the deep cleansing breaths. Hold on to your britches. I don't know what it is. I know it's going to be windy here with the winds of change. But yeah, I'm not saying it's like a doomsday or something that you could be prepping for or anything like that. It's just change. On a personal note, I know people that are dealing with some pretty major transitory illnesses. They'll be taking them from this life to the next, and that's something that they're coming to terms with, and their immediate loved ones are coming to terms with. And it's not always easy. And it's challenging, and I understand, and it's hard for them, and it's just, I don't know, something to, I'm watching from the outside and observing, and they're just there for support. But it's hard. You just want to reach out and fix it. It's just like, I'm here for support. But yeah, you just want to, I don't know. I'm kind of a smother mother. I just want to fix it for everybody. I guess maybe I just need to go buy one of those really big Powerball tickets, right? Um, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's a transition time. I can feel it in my bones. Something's happening. I don't know what it is. So maybe I'll do a reading on the air later over the weekend or something. That might be fun. Pull one of the a couple of decks and do a big reading. That might be actually very interesting. Because sometimes those readings require multiple decks when you're in a transitory period, and it is very bizarre. And sometimes all you need to do is pull a card, and you're like, "Oh, that's what that meant." Or I'm going to just back up now. I'm going to go sit in my corner. I needed a timeout. I got the point. And other times it's like, "Oh, I needed the full reading. Yes, I'm sorry, I needed 30 cards to fully get the picture." Because yes, you had to paint the picture and you had to use the big letters and the cartoons because I didn't get it. Sometimes that's just the way of it. Sometimes we all need to have the picture painted. So, but as you're going into the Yuletide weekend and the first weekend of winter, drive careful, hug your loved ones, and just pay attention to the little things. Stop and take a minute. If someone's asking you for a moment, take a deep breath. There's no reason to rush and hurry this time of year. Partly because everybody else is doing it. And so if everybody's rushing around and hurrying, nothing is going to be accomplished by doing that. Step back, take a deep breath, ground yourself, center, and move forward then. Because if you stop and take a moment, that'll help everybody else to maybe stop and take a moment. And you know what? That moment might be the one that saves you or the next person or everybody around you. And sometimes that extra moment you give someone to breathe, it's the one that they needed to find their safe space, or for you to find your safe space, or maybe it's just you needed to give someone a hug in that time. So yes, hug your loved ones. Enjoy the first day of winter, because yes, the cycle continues. As it has been, it will be again. And thanks for joining me on my Thursday ramble. Just a quick one today. So merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. I hope you guys have a great day and a great weekend. I probably won't be on air on Christmas Day. I'll probably join in for maybe one on Friday, the day after Christmas. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the week goes. Who knows? Thanks, guys. Bye.